Well, as I get adjusted in my seat, I'm still waiting on that open
Yes,
and the background, but here we are. Kendrick and Dusty Talk Sports. First time we've been able to be here all week because we've been a little bit busy, you know, with the state fair on Tuesday. Your off days on Monday and Tuesday, and I was busy on Monday. Well, anyway, we're here. And so we had a great high school football opening week last week, and this week we have what could be another classic for our game of the week between Ballard and Mayo last year. Two great games, two very close games. The first game was 12-7. That game was more close than good. But the second game was an amazing game that ended with a fumble on the 1 yard line that led to Mayo scooping and scoring, winning that game. But leading up to that point, we haven't talked about it that much. That game was insane. There was one point where both teams just kept turning the ball over and over again, and Ballard looked like they had it, and it was right there. What happened? They had stopped Mayo on 4th and goal at the 1 yard line, and all Ballard had to do was down the ball or
take a safety,
which I hear a lot of people say they should have taken the safety. Yeah. I don't know about that. To me, that's risky because you're still kicking the ball off to a dangerous Mayo team, and plus, you don't expect the fumble to snap. You're just downing the ball.
It's the last thing you expect. You make it that far, and you just, that's when the freak 0.001% happens.
Right. So Friday night is the rematch. It's going to be a hot one. And the game was supposed to be at 7 o'clock. They've moved it back to 7:30 because of the heat. Now, I was out at Mayo yesterday at 6:30. And by 7 o'clock, it had cooled off a little bit. I don't know if it was just that I was used to the heat at that point.
Yeah.
But it felt like it had cooled off at that point. Plus, they play on the grass, which Coach Wolf talked about. They play on the grass. It won't be as hot at Mayo, but other schools, it's going to be hot.
If you have artificial turf, good luck. Those little rubber black pebble
pieces of tire.
I guess that's technically what that is. And those things, man, I got a horrible story for you on those. Shout out to Garrett Banky. He was my pitching coach. Great guy. He was punishing our whole team basically for one of our baseball players not deciding to run a specific day. I'm not going to name him, but he
in California.
It was in California. It was 110 degrees outside, and they made us run for 4 hours and did wheelbarrows on those rubber pieces. And I walked away.
That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, it was the worst. 100 yards both ways, so 200 yards. And I walked away the next day, and my entire palm of my hand was burnt off. Like it was swollen. Then the next day, the skin it was awful. I mean, I was a pitcher, so I couldn't throw.
Nobody has had more injuries than the guy next to me.
I'm broken. It is what it is. This is why we report on this.
Right. I mean, you can get your medical degree just based on everything you've been through.
I can be a chiropractor now. But yeah, one thing that is going to be interesting is the fact, obviously, the way you look at these two teams, Mayo and Ballard alone, they're training and they're practicing at two different times of the day.
Right.
Earlier today was out at Ballard, and they started practice at 6 a.m. And very different, obviously, because they're going to practice first. Then they're going to classes. Coach even told me that, they're getting a little tired in the afternoon at school.
About that sixth period. They're struggling.
They're definitely, and I can't imagine their attention span for wanting to be in class.
I guess they still do 6 periods in high school nowadays.
That is a thing. I think
that was when I was in school. That was 100 years ago.
0 period. That was right. That's when school started. They had the 0 period for us. That was essentially when they're doing their football practice right now. Mm-hmm. So I can imagine they're looking at it essentially as kind of a class period right now, like that early class period.
Because I'm thinking back, again, 100 years ago, 6 seems like we got to school. School started at like 7 anyway. Yeah. So it's maybe not that big of adjustment mentally and physically, but like getting there, I would imagine it's probably an adjustment for old mom and dad.
Brutal. I can't imagine. Yeah, the coordinating nightmare. I bet it's got to be brutal. But Coach even said, he's thankful for the fact that parents and players, they've been able to kind of put themselves out there in a way that has allowed them to work together and carpooling. I mean, these are the things that you don't think about as a coach. You're looking into game planning.
Coaches think about it.
Right. On the outside perspective, you're not thinking about this is what they're having to consider as you go up against one of the toughest opponents you'll face all season. So that kind of a challenge. And on the other side, as you mentioned, male practicing in the evening, and just kind of a different dynamic as we go into this matchup.
And that's why you see so often when a team, when they win their championship, one of the first people the coaches think is the parents, because the parents, are juggling schedules, making all the sacrifices in the world to get their kids to practices and games and all that stuff. So it's not easy. So shout out to all the parents out there making it work, making it happen. Because one of the things Chris Wolf told me is like they looked at the forecast last week and saw it was going to be hot. So they made the call last week that we're going to have all evening practices this week.
Yeah.
And that's what they've been doing.
Well, we caught up with these coaches and, of course, talking specifically about the matchup. Here's what they had to say. Obviously, you're going to notice a tone shift from last year to this year.
Ballard's a great opponent. They got a nice thing rolling. We had 2 great games with them last year.
That game itself was playing in the state semis, and that's a moment we want to get back to.
Ballard and Male matched up twice a year ago, with Male getting the last laugh.
Won't ever forget that one. The shock on people's faces is just remarkable.
Ballard, with an opportunity to win the game, fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line, and it was taken back for a touchdown, with Male winning 24-20.
I don't want them to get so caught up on last year's game. We just want to focus on this year.
Well, a lot of talk is about last year's matchup between Ballard and Male. Coach Adrian Morton of Ballard saying he wants to put that in the past and focus on this upcoming matchup, a matchup of 2 undefeated 1-0 teams. Of course, Ballard coming off a 41-34 win against Southwestern, and Male a 48-0 win over Butler.
We played a pretty clean game. Usually there's a lot of mistakes, but I was really happy with special teams. Defense was outstanding, gave up 39 yards on 39 plays.
We got to tighten some things up. Too many penalties, self-inflicted penalties, but I like this football team.
Both coaches saying they have respect for the other and their programs this season.
It's a typical well-coached Ballard squad that I think is going to match up well with us. They fought through and hung in there and scored at the end and held on and win the game. So that says a lot. That was a really quality opponent for them.
I think we match up pretty well. I think they've got a phenomenal offensive line. I think they've got great defensive linemen, good quarterback, and good perimeter guys. And I think we're pretty good up front, too, on the offensive line and at the quarterback position on the perimeter as well.
And having a key matchup like this one early in the year can prove to be helpful down the road.
We always say this. It's not about them. It's about us. So we just want to go play our best game, be physical.
The regular season, while it's great to win them all, it's better to be tested. That's really the key.
Ballard and Male kick off Friday at Male High School at 7:30 p.m. Reporting in Louisville, Dusty Baker, Wave Sports. And needless to say, this is going to be a hard-hitting battle from start to finish here, Kendrick, and really looking forward to our game of the week.
Just laughing because one of the assistant coaches from Male, my boy Corey, I've known Corey since high school. That was his kid that got the scoop and score to win the game. It was great to see that.
Oh my! I mean, I can't even imagine the emotion of the highs and the lows.
The highs and lows and that. I mean, it was amazing. It's going to be a great game. I'm saying, looking forward to that one. I mean, Male's schedule is insane. They play Ballard. They're the game of the week this week against Ballard. The game of the next week against St. X. Then they have a bye. Then their game of the week the following week when they play Trinity.
They have the schedule of the month.
Right.
Congratulations to Male, schedule of the month. Well done.
But I mean, like you said, though, that game is going to be good. We got some other great games going on around town. And like I said, so many of these games are being pushed back. I mean, some games aren't starting until 8:30 on Friday night. I'm wondering how many of these games are going to get pushed to Saturday.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be cooler on Saturday. It probably makes a little bit more sense to play some of these games on Saturday. So I've got a feeling between now and Friday, we're going to see some games move to Saturday.
Be patient with us this week. It's going to be from just a technical broadcasting standpoint. It's a logistical.
It's a nightmare.
It's a bit of a nightmare. We have our show at 11:15. Naturally, we don't just shoot the highlights and they just appear on the screen. There's kind of a middleman involved, so it may be a little more difficult on our end this week.
Heck of a catch.
Yeah,
right
isn't
there.
that a great play? That was an amazing play. Yeah, that
was a heck of a run in the Atherton game.
It was. We had some star plays this past week. We, of course, had our delivery of the game sponsored by Beer Nose, who also sponsors the Kendrick and Dusty Talk Sports Show. So thank you to Beer Nose for everything you do. And I think one thing that I'm really excited about this week is week one, you kind of get the jitters out of the way. I know that the heat is playing an impact, but ultimately these kids want to be out there, right? And it's going to cool down towards the end of the day. You're going to see a better squad regardless from every one of these teams going out there week two. It's you get those kind of maybe unnecessary plays. I talked to Ballard once again about kind of where they were at on the penalty side of things. He said that they have a lot to clean up, as you heard right there. And I think that you're going to see maybe less penalties this week, maybe teams that are a little more disciplined across the board. And that's always when you get better games, right? Just in general, better opportunity for action and a little more time for rapport too.
Right. And you look at the game coming into it, Mail had an easy way of it against Butler. I think Butler ran 32 plays. I think they had 32 yards of total offense. And so while they had that tune-up game, Ballard played a strong, tough game against Southwestern, in which they had to come back and they had to overcome penalties to win that game. So they do have that tough game under their belt. However, the flip side of that too, when you're looking at advantages and disadvantages, while I understand practicing in the morning, Mayo is practicing at the time when the game is going to be played.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Coach Wolf talked about when I talked to him yesterday was, it's hot and you want to be careful, but at the same time, the kids have to be in the heat to get acclimated to the heat. Because if you're not in the heat and then all of a sudden you go in to play a game and it's 97, 98 degrees outside, that's not healthy for the kids either. No. So it's a balancing act, and I would hate to be the one responsible for that. But it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a tough game. Shout out to Coach Morton, too, because the job he's done at Ballard, completely turning that thing around there in no time. He's done a great job at Ballard, and there's nothing but respect for him. They were right there to make it into a state championship last year. So the seeds are there for him to keep building that program, and hopefully he can keep building them and take the next step for Ballard.
He made it very clear, too, just saying that he believes his team is right there with Mail. And it's
obviously they are.
Yeah. I mean, it's a game like this that defines, are they for real or are they not? And he says it's very clear. Obviously, there's some things that they have to work at, but what team doesn't, right? And coach talk is one of my favorite things. I love coach talk because there's no satisfaction. No coach is going to come up to you and say, yeah, we're playing perfect ball. We look the best we ever will look. Things that coaches will not say for 100, please.
Right. Just think about Hunter Cantwell after their win on Friday night. There's 3A team just beat a 5A team in a tough game, which they were up 21-0, and he was not happy at the end of that game.
No.
They won 28-14. I think was the final score.
He was not. And it's what though, that's a standard. I think Nick Saban is probably the king.
He's the king. And Belichick.
Yeah, there you go. Belichick gives you the face of I'm never satisfied. Right. But either way, I'm kind of curious to see how this thing goes this week. We also have another good game. Trinity will be hosting Frederick Douglass as well. So looking forward to that matchup. As Trinity, obviously, they have a different look at quarterback. But overall, they've got a lot of the same core pieces. You saw that they kind of rolled this past week. St. X, too, man. They looked great this past week.
Yeah, Trinity coming back and getting their revenge on Bryan Station in a big way.
Huge way.
They looked very impressive in their win on Friday night. St. X looking very good in their win on Friday night. Havel, he's tossing the ball around the yard a lot better this year. Last year, he could do that. But it just wasn't consistent. It looked like he's worked on that. He's gotten a little bit more consistent throwing the ball. So we'll find out with them in a couple of weeks when they take on Mayo.
He was a finalist for our Player of the Week.
Touchdown Friday Night Player of the Week.
Yeah, we'll announce the Player of the Week officially on Friday.
Your show on Friday night. And if you want to get involved with our show, all you have to do is just hit us up on Facebook like our guy Alan McNair does every week.
There we go. Love that.
He loves the wave polo.
How's it going, Alan? Good to see you.
But just, if you want to send us a comment, got a question or whatever, just hit us up on our Facebook Messenger. But moving ahead, though, I mean, we were a week and a half away. Not even a week and a half. We're actually 9 days away from U of L's first game, and we're 10 days away from UK kicking things off. College football is just about here.
And it's what's crazy is the official kickoff for college football is this week.
Right.
Believe it or not. I mean,
week 0.
It's week 0. Yeah, I think it's technically. I hate that they do it. You know what? I don't hate that we have college football. That's the best part. No. But yeah, week 0 is a little weird. It's like just call it week 1. Right. But I'm super excited for the opportunity to go down to Atlanta. We'll be able to see U of L face off against Georgia Tech. The thing that's tough about the preseason, and I think a lot of reporters will probably agree with this, it's the idea that after a while, you want to just talk about the games, right? You want to actually say.
So do the coaches.
Yeah, they do. It's the, how are they looking? How are they looking? Right. Oh, they look great against their guys, but let's see them against a different unit.
Right.
To be able to actually have Jack Plummer in this offense going up against a different color unit. And quite frankly, it's on a very big stage. I mean, this is the Aflac kickoff game. So it's at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is the home to the Atlanta Falcons. And
that stadium is so cool.
It's going to be awesome.
I've only seen it from the outside. I haven't actually been inside of it. I've seen it from the outside, but yeah, it looks really cool.
It's no beer nose there, but I can't wait to get Chick-fil-A when I'm there too. I feel like that's going to be my staple.
You don't go to Atlanta and get Chick-fil-A.
What do I get? What do I get?
Go to Mary Mac's Tea Room.
Mary Mac's Tea Room.
Yes.
Okay. And what do I get from Mary Mac's Tea Room?
It's Southern cooking, so you.
So it's self-explanatory. Okay. Mary Mac's Tea Room.
Do not go there and get Chick-fil-A, or you will be fired.
Okay. So you guys have this down, right? I will go to Mary. So
no disrespect to Chick-fil-A.
Hey, you know what? It's on a Friday. So Chick-fil-A is open that day. I just want to point that out. But yeah, if it was on a Sunday, then I wouldn't be able to. I heard that they don't sell Chick-fil-A in the stadium for Falcons games on Sunday. Right. That is so interesting to me. Like,
I'm sitting here thinking about your schedule. Oh yeah, you've got plenty of time to go to Mary Mac's Tea Room, but you'll have to do it for lunch though.
Okay, that sounds good.
It'd be fantastic.
Mary Mac's. What do you get there? It's Southern cooking, but what do you get?
I mean, obviously, you get the mac and cheese, you get chicken, you get catfish, you get whatever you want.
This is not sponsored by Mary Mac's, by the way.
It could be Mary Mac's.
Hey, Mary Mac's. Hey, Mary Mac's. That sounds really good, actually.
If you get a chance, which you probably won't, but because I know how people give us all these suggestions, like we have all this.
And then we show up and we have two.
But kind of a local flair, a Kentucky flair is Nappy Roots. They have their brewery in Atlanta, so you get a chance, you can go by there and check there off the clock.
Off the clock is the key phrase.
You may be able to do that after the game on Friday night.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, so there's plenty of places to go in Atlanta that are not chains.
Chick-fil-A, the king of Atlanta. I'm really excited though. College football being back is a beautiful thing, and U of L is obviously going to be so fun to watch. And the coolest part is you have U of L with the transfer quarterback, you have Kentucky with a transfer quarterback. So definitely the leaders of both of these squads. Changing the guard a little bit here. And, it's a difference, obviously, of coaching where you have Stoops in his 11th year and subtract 10, and that's where you got Brum in his year here with the U of L. But it's going to be so much fun, so many storylines going into it. But let's play the games. Let's finally actually have something to talk about that's right in front of us. And I'm super excited about that.
Of course, Coach Stoops made a little bit of stir when he was here on Monday, when he made his little joke. I mean, first and foremost, when he talked to us, he expressed how much he respects Jeff Brom, and he values the relationship they had. Said he wouldn't go as far as friends because they don't know each other that well, but then they do have a good relationship. But he also said because they brought the Governor's Cup with them. And he said, "I was surprised to see that thing in Jefferson County." Oh man! And I love that. That's what rivalry games are. You got to take your shots. It's like that's one of the things that I didn't agree with Coach Satterfield when he was here because he got really upset about the whole L's down thing. I'm like, it's a rivalry game. Now I do think it's goofy when Kentucky's playing like Kent State and they're doing the L's down thing. That doesn't make any sense.
No.
But when they do it I'm like, it's a rivalry game, and it's all
One of the best too.
Threw it all out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, just like when the Big 12 came up, we were going to give penalties for the horns down.
Yeah, that's
Get out of here with that.
Insane. That part still drives me ballistic, and that's why. See you later, Texas. It's a TCU alum that did not sit well with me. That one in particular. I'm excited to see the rivalry in person too. And you know what's crazy is, we're months away from this rivalry game, but we're already talking about it, right? And we're not the only ones. I mean, both coaches have been talking about it. I'm sure the players have been talking about it plenty.
Coach Bob said they've already installing plays for that game.
That is awesome. And so that means that it's personal to him. Right. And I think that is going to make this particular year so much more interesting, probably much more fun to watch as a fan and be a part of. So if you're a U of L fan, get out to the stadium because this is going to be a year that you're going to want to be there.
Yeah, and I don't if judging by the ticket sales, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Yeah. and UK too. UK's already sold out their allotment of season tickets this season. So football fans are very excited for this upcoming season, as they should be. And it's great to see the excitement around both programs because really and truly through the history, one's been really good and the other one's either struggled or just it's been a huge gap between the two going both ways, Kentucky fans. And I know they like to go on and on about how they've won so many in a row, but Louisville did the same thing. Yeah. But now they're about even. It seems like they're about even though oddly enough, U of L's been favored against Kentucky a couple of times, and when Kentucky just hammered them. And I didn't understand how they were favored in the first place. But it's going to be interesting, especially it's for both teams. It's a marathon. Who's going to be healthy at that point? Because Kentucky's in the battering ram of the SEC. U of L's got that home game with Notre Dame. I have to go to NC State. They've got some tough games on their schedule. So it's a battle of attrition. So who's going to be the healthiest coming into that game is going to be as big a role as anything. The
craziest thing to me, and we've talked about this before on this podcast, is that you're year one with Brom. And you go down the stretch and, Kentucky's your final game. They are favored in every single game. And that is
according to Brett McMurphy.
According to Brett McMurphy, which he's not 100% on top. But he can be right. He projected U of L to be his 16th ranked team. Now, are they ranked in the AP poll? No.
No, I think they're like 34th when it comes to
something along those lines.
Votes. Yeah, Brett McMurphy has been great for you.
Yeah, he's pushed the name. Yes, and Barstool is hopping around talking about Brom. I mean, there's not just a stir. Let me tell you here in Louisville about Brom and about these Cardinals. The stir has reached the national level. People do recognize that this is a team that at least they should be keeping their eye on. That is at the very least. And so that makes it exciting. That makes it extremely exciting. And you talk about transfers. Devin Leary, many people believe, is the second best transfer in the country outside of Hartman to Notre Dame, which we're going to be able to see down here too.
Which and being that we've covered the ACC and I've seen both of them play, I'm higher on Leary than I am on Hartman. So
there you go.
So we'll see. Hartman's good. Don't get me wrong, but U of L destroyed them last year. So I'm a little bit higher on Devin Leary. Only thing knock on Leary right now is just coming off that injury. Yeah, that's going to be and I don't want to. We've haven't talked about IU as much. I don't want, but their first two games are ridiculous. Opening with Ohio State, and then having to play U of L in Indianapolis, and so don't want to forget the Hoosiers. They just named their starting quarterback this afternoon. I'm sorry, his name is escaping my memory right now, but because they were getting right there, and they've taken a step back. Hopefully, they can get it back up there. Tom Allen's got a classic football coach's voice.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
And when you meet him, he's just as nice as can be. He's a great guy. He is a really good coach. They've just had injuries. They just had really bad luck. I mean, Michael Penix was as good a quarterback as Indiana probably ever had. He's right up there, and he could not stay healthy when he was at IU. Then he goes to Washington and actually plays the whole season. So he's a Heisman candidate.
He may be the Heisman favorite. A lot of people are believing too. I mean, outside of Williams, if on the outside looking in, Caleb Williams is going to be your top dog. But as far as probably number 2, number 3 on that list, it's got to be him. Bo Nix is going to be on that list. Like Penix was.
Bo Nix is 35 years old. He should be up there.
He and Stetson Bennett have a lot in common. I feel like. I mean, geez, man. Bo Nix has been everywhere.
I've got a feeling Bo Nix has probably actually graduated, unlike Stetson Bennett.
At this point, he's got like 5 degrees. Yeah, he's actually in his master's program now.
He could be a doctor at this point.
He probably is a doctor. He's probably tending to his own injuries.
Yeah,
do that.
and we'll wrap up tonight, closing the book on one football, the oblong football, getting to the round football. It's been a little bit of a struggle for our Lou City guys. Our boys in purple have been struggling a little bit this season.
Yeah, they have. It's been an up and down ride for them. You know, they had an undefeated streak, 4 games. Mm-hmm. It didn't even feel that great though, because probably half of those games they should have won. And so, you know, and it wasn't necessarily against top competition within the USL. And then they go out and they fall to a Birmingham team that they had lost to before that streak started. And, it's kind of unfortunate because we've been hearing from Danny Cruz, post-game interview after post-game interview. And after every match, it seems like even the positive, not necessarily the wins, but just any sort of positives he tries to draw from this team. It's more what he sees on the field. But listen to what he has to say about the actual attitude of his team after their most recent loss.
I thought the mentality was really, really poor tonight. Really, really frustrated with that. Felt really happy with how we had been progressing the 4 games prior. But too many guys tonight didn't have, what I asked them to have, which was that fight, the belief, the mentality. But I think it was clear when you look at the game over 90 minutes, it was nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough is not what you want to hear. Yeah,
strong words. Yeah. I mean, Danny's passionate. He's a very passionate coach, and the good thing about Danny is if it's on his mind, that's what comes out. You don't get much sugarcoating from Danny.
No, he's been so real over the last. I honestly, we talked about coach talk early in this podcast. I really appreciate that from a coach when they come out and they're just completely honest with what they see, with how they feel. And Danny has said this at least a couple of times now over the last couple months, basically saying he feels like his team's not putting their best foot forward, that they don't necessarily have that drive in the fight per se, as you heard him right there. That's concerning. That is so concerning.
Especially at this point in the season, because if you've been around Lou City enough, you know that they tend to struggle in July and in kind of June and July. They kind of feel something. A lot of times they do go on little losing streaks or whatever. But then usually around this time of the season, they still really start ramping it up. This is when they start making their playoff push. And to hear him say that at this time of the season is a little bit alarming.
Yeah, it's very concerning. On the flip side, though, you have Racing Louisville, and the fact is, they just haven't had their squad because of so many of their players.
Best Racing Louisville squad in the history of the franchise.
It's amazing.
Granted, it's 3 years old, but
and,
still.
And they sold out they sold out a majority of their tickets.
Fill the fam.
Yeah, when they had Angel City in town. That was a great crowd, by the way. Incredible what they had there. And I think that, give them some time. It's a very different scenario than what you're seeing from Lou City, where they've kind of all been together throughout this entire season. When you have that break in the action where you kind of almost forget what it's like to play with some of these players, and they're your top stars, but to have them return, you just got to kind of mold it back again and give them a week, give them 2 weeks. They should be back normal, but I'm expecting this to be a great stretch for Racing Louisville.
We're right on the cusp of the playoffs, and for Racing Louisville to make the playoffs, that would be so huge for that franchise. It would be huge for the fans around here. Like I said, we've watched this team grow. Yeah. Literally, we've watched them grow. Because Lou City hit the ground running. I mean, I think they've been to the finals, almost to the Eastern Conference finals, I think, every year of their existence, which is not normal. What we're seeing with Racing is what's normal, which is a team that has to build, has to go through its struggles. And they're doing that, and you see stars like Savannah DeMello playing for Team USA.
So awesome.
And see so many see 6 players playing in the World Cup for their native countries is amazing to see. And so they're just to see their growth, to watch how much they've grown over the years. It's amazing to watch.
I don't enjoy talking about the negative to the positive and the negative, but this is how you got to do it with these 2 squads. They're the 2 soccer squads in our area. Lou City in the standings wise, they're in 5th place. You might be sitting there saying that's not too bad. The problem is that's in 5th place in the Eastern Conference though. And ultimately it's going to be another one of those kind of like late stretches where they're going to have to find a way to beat a team that's above them in the standings. And
Right.
they just simply, to my knowledge, what I've seen, they kind of play down to their competition. And then teams that are clearly more at their level, they struggle down the stretch late in games. And so that's really difficult. And so obviously something to keep an eye on here is how can Lou City try and snap this somewhat of a funk. And they will be at home on Saturday this upcoming week. They'll host Oakland Roots. So should be exciting to watch that one.
Oakland Roots, is that California?
That's California. That's you know what? That's probably going to be the only professional team in Oakland
at this point.
I can't believe what's happening out there, man. That stuff is nuts. But you talk about equally matched. Here you go. Oakland, 4th place in the Western Conference.
So this is a huge match. It looks like they're tied for 4th. And they're tied for 4th, or both of them a point out of 3rd.
Yep.
So this is a huge match for Lou City. You need to get all 3 of these points. You need to get this one. You can't go in there and get another draw and only get 1 point.
Yeah.
You need to get all 3 of these points, jump ahead of them, and maybe you can make a huge jump this weekend if you can get a win on Saturday.
Yeah, would love to see some consistency from this team moving forward.
Yes.
That's pretty much all we got on that.
That's pretty much all
that's
we
our
got
soccer
today.
insight, man. We're your soccer insiders.
Right.
I will say this before we go: some interesting news with Will Levis.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Will Levis and his mayonnaise contract that he signed. So if you're confused, Will Levis made he made a lot of news when he revealed that he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. This was after he revealed that he eats bananas with the peel still on it. And so
Wait, I didn't even hear that one. Is that really?
yes.
Gosh.
In case you didn't know, Will Levis is a bit of a character. And so Hellman's mayonnaise, which by the way, I love Hellman's mayonnaise. They've signed a lifetime contract with Will Levis, which with NIL seems like they would have done that last year.
Right.
And what's interesting right here, watching his pro day video, and dang, he almost killed himself. There's Mike Vrabel right back there. So his future coach,
was just watching him throw dimes and probably eating mayonnaise on the sidelines. It's got to be the weirdest combination. Do you have anything like that? Do you do anything that's like a weird combo?
No, my dad used to eat mayonnaise with hot dogs.
I don't know if that's that weird. I mean, that's kind of weird, I guess.
Like anything really weird. Well, I did not like any burger, but like if a homemade burger, like my mom made hamburgers at night, I used to would dip them in applesauce.
Okay, that one's a little weird. That one's bizarre. That one counts. Kendrick and I went to the fair yesterday, and the first thing that I think caught both of our eyes, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was the donut burger. And so what they have is a Krispy Kreme donut on the top, on the bottom. Those are your buns, and then it's a burger patty with cheese and bacon, and I don't remember if there was lettuce on it. I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter at that point.
It doesn't matter because
it's bacon, lettuce, and a culinary.
Yeah, it gives me a heart attack just thinking about that. To be honest with you, that's not fair.
I behaved. You did not. I just got a steak sandwich and a cup of ice cream. You, on the other hand,
I had a problem.
This is actually after you got the giant icy. You look like a 12-year-old walking around with this giant.
God, I had that. So I had an icy, and I was a kid, as you mentioned. Kendrick literally looked over at me. He's like, "You look like you're 5 right now." It's like maturity of a 4-year-old. It was awesome. It was great. I was like walking around. There's ice falling all over me, and I probably look like an idiot, but it's fine. It was delicious. Then we had. Okay, I have to think about this off the top of my head. I had a corn dog. I know that for a fact. I had fried Oreos, fried cookie dough, which probably was my favorite.
That sounds amazing.
It's unreal.
I love cookie dough ice cream. That's my favorite ice cream.
It's fried. It's like just a melted cookie inside a big fried glob. It was awesome, man. I love it.
I love how you said the burger gives you a heart attack, but then you talk glowingly about fried cookie dough.
So
after you eat fried Oreos.
It was so good. If you haven't been to the Kentucky State Fair, I highly recommend it. It was incredible. The only thing it was missing was Beer Nose Pizza. If there's Beer Nose Pizza there, that's the only thing that I would need. And I could probably chase all that with the cauliflower crust. I would feel better about myself that way.
That would do it.
That's about all. See, I get the support here. The good news is Kendrick's going to these workouts every day, so it's motivating me to have to do something like that too. So I go to PT 3 times a week, and shout out to Chloe for driving me crazy there too. So
you're up to half a leg.
I'm at half a leg. Apparently I'm supposed to start running in like 2 weeks. Jogging, that is.
I would not wish that upon you.
I'm excited for the opportunity.
Well, all right. Well, that's gonna do us for tonight. We may have a show tomorrow. Depends on scheduling, and definitely won't have a show on Friday because we don't know what's gonna happen on Friday night. But we will be with you as often as possible. And next week is game week around here.
Can't wait.
Jeff Braun and Mark Zeus both will start speaking to the media. Their pregame press conferences on Monday. We'll have that for you on Wave News whenever they put us, and we will have everything leading up to the game. Let's say Dusty's heading to Atlanta. I'll be in Indianapolis when Louisville goes up there, and we will have all your coverage going forward. So busy times are here.
It's a very busy time, and man, I'm just excited. Let's finally get this thing started, baby.
Yes, let's
go.
Finally get some football.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
You have a good night.
Have a great evening, everybody.